Sri Sai Satcharitra Chapter 5. Baba's return with Chand Patil's marriage party, addressed as Sai, contact with other saints, his dress and daily routine, the story of the Padukas, wrestling bout with Modan, and change in life, turning water into oil, the pseudo guru Jawahar Ali. Return with Chand Patil's marriage party. As entered in the last chapter, I shall now describe first how Sai Baba returned to Shirdi after his disappearance. There lived in Aurangabad district in a village called Dhoop, a well-to-do Mohammedan gentleman by the name Chand Patil. While he was on a trip to Aurangabad, he lost his mare. For 2 long months, he made a diligent search but could not trace of the lost mare. After being disappointed, he returned from Aurangabad with the saddle on his back. After travelling 4 kos and a half, he came on the way to a mango tree, under the foot of which sat a Ratna, that is a queer fellow. He had a cap on his head, wore kafni, and had a satka, which is a short stick, under his armpit, and he was preparing to smoke a chillin, which is a pipe. On seeing Chand Patil pass by, he came out to him and asked him to have a smoke and to rest a little. The fakir asked him about the saddle. Chand Patil replied that it was of his mate which was lost. The queer fellow or fakir asked him to make a search in the nala close by. He went, and the wonder of the wonders, he found out the mare. He thought that this fakir was not an ordinary man, but an Avilya, that is a great saint. He returned to the fakir with the mare. The chilim was ready to be smoked, but 2 things were wanting: fire to light up the pipe and water to wet the chapi, which is a piece of cloth. The fakir took his prong and thrust it forcibly into the ground, and out came a live burning coal, which he put on the pipe. Then he dashed the satka on the ground, from where water began to ooze. The chapi was wetted with that water, and then wrung around and wrapped around the pipe. Thus everything being complete, the fakir smoked the chilim and then gave it also to Chand Patil. On seeing all this, Chand Patil was wonderstruck. He requested the fakir to come to his home and accept his hospitality. Next day he went to the Patil's house and stayed there for some time. The Patil was a village officer of Dhoop. His wife's brother's son was to be married, and the bride was from Shirdi. So Patil made preparation to start to Shirdi for the marriage. The fakir also accompanied the marriage party. The marriage party went without any hitch, and the party returned to Dhoop, except the fakir alone stayed in Shirdi and remained there forever. How the fakir got the name Sai? When the marriage party came to Shirdi, it alighted at the foot of a banyan tree in Bhagat Malsapati's field near Khandoba temple. The carts were loosened in the open courtyard of Khandoba temple. And the members of the party descended one by one, and the fakir also got down. Bhagat Matsapati saw the young fakir getting down and accosted him, "Yeh Sai," which means "Welcome Sai." Others also addressed him as Sai, and thenceforth he became known as Sai Baba. Contact with other saints. Sai Baba began to stay in a deserted masjid. One saint named Devidas was living in Shirdi many years before Sai Baba came there. Baba liked this company. He stayed with him in the Maruti temple in the Chavdi and sometimes lived alone. Then came under a saint by the name Janki Das. Baba spent most of his time in talking with him, or Janki Das went to Baba's residence. So also one Vaishya, that is a household saint, from Putambe by the name Gangagir, always frequented Shirdi. When he first saw Sai Baba carrying pitchers of water in both hands for watering the garden, he was amazed and said openly, "Blessed is Shirdi that it got this precious jewel. This man is carrying water today, but he is not an ordinary fellow. As this land Shirdi was lucky and meritorious, it secured this jewel." So also one famous saint by name Anand Nath of Yavalam Math, a disciple of Akalkot Maharaj, came to Shirdi with some people. When he saw Sai Baba, he said openly, "This is a precious diamond in reality. Though he looks like an ordinary man, he is not a gar, but a diamond. You will realize this in the near future." Saying this, he returned to the Yavla. This was said while Sai Baba was a youngster. Baba's dress and daily routine. In his young days, Baba grew hair on his head, never had his head shaved. He dressed like an athlete. When he went to Rahata, which is 3 miles from Shirdi, he brought with him small plants of marigold J&J, and after cleaning, he planted and watered them. A devotee by the name Vaman Tatya supplied him daily with 2 earthen pitchers, with which Baba himself used to water the plants. He drew water from the well and carried the pitchers on his shoulders. In the evening, the pitchers were kept at the foot of the neem tree. As soon as they were placed, they were broken, as they were made of raw earth and not baked. Next day, Tatya supplied 2 fresh pitchers. This course went on for 3 years, and with Baba's toil and labor, there grew a flower garden. On this site at present stands the big mansion, the Samadhi Mandir of Baba, which is now frequented and used by so many devotees. The story of Padukas under the neem tree. A devotee of Akkalkot Maharaj by name Bhai Krishnasagar Alibagkar worshipped the photo of Akkalkot Maharaj. He once thought of going to Akkalkot, which is in Sholapur district, taking the darshan of the Padukas of the Maharaj and offers a sincere worship there. But before he could go there, he got a vision in his dream. Akkalkot Maharaj appeared in the vision and said to him, "Now Shirdi is my resting place. Go there and offer your worship." So Bhai changed his plan and came to Shirdi. Worship Baba stayed there for 6 months and was happy. As a reminiscence of his vision, he prepared the Padukas and installed them on the auspicious day of Shravan, which is 1834, that is 1912 AD, under the neem tree with due ceremonies and formalities. Conducted by Dada Kelkar and Upsani, one Dikshit Brahmin was appointed for worship and the management was entrusted to devotee Shagun. Complete vision of this story. Mr. BVDO, retired Mamaltar of Thana, was a great devotee of Sai Baba. Made inquired about his matter with Shagun Meru Nayak and Govind Kamlakar Dikshit, and has published a full version of the Padukas in Sai Leela magazine, volume 11, number 1, page 25. It was written as follows. In 1834 Shaka, which is 1912 AD, one Dr. Ramarao Kothare of Bombay came to Shirdi for Baba's darshan. His compounder and his friend Bhai Krishan Sagar Alibagkar accompanied him. The compounder and the Bhai became intimate with Shagun Meru Nayak and G.K. Dikshit. While discussing things, these people thought that there must be some memorial of the fact of Sai Baba's first coming to Shirdi and sitting under the holy neem tree. They thought of installing Baba's Padukas there and were going to make them of some rough stones. Then Baba's friend, the compounder, suggested that if this matter had been known to his master, Mr. Dr. Ramarao Kothare, he would have prepared nice Padukas for this purpose. All liked the proposal and Dr. Kothare was informed of it. He came to Shirdi and drew the plan of the Padukas. He went to Upsani Maharaj in Khandoba temple and showed him the plan. They later made some improvements, drew lotus, flowers, conch, disc, men, etc. and suggested that the following shloka regarding neem tree's greatness and Baba's yogi powers be inscribed. The verse was as follows. Sadanimba Vriksha Mooladivasa Sudashravanam Tiktamam Priyantam Tarum Kalpa Vrikshadikam Sadayantam Samameshwaram Sadgurum Sainatham. Upsani's suggestions were accepted and carried out. The Padukas were made in Bombay and sent to Shirdi with the compounder. Baba said that they should be installed on the Purnima of Shravan. On that day, at 11 a.m., G.K. Dikshit brought them on his head from Khandoba temple to the Dwarka Mai in procession. Baba touched the Padukas, saying that these are the feet of the Lord, and asked the people to install it under the foot of the neem tree. A day before, one Parsi devotee of Bombay named Pasta Sheth sent 25 rupees by money order. Baba gave this sum for the installation of the Padukas. The total expenses of installation came up to 100, of which 75 were collected by subscription. For the first 5 years, G.K. Dikshit worshipped the Padukas daily, and then this was done by Lakshman Ksheswar Jakdi. In the first 5 years, Dr. Kothare sent ₹2 per month for lighting and also sent the railing around the Padukas. The expense of bringing the railing from the station to Shirdi, that is 780, presently ₹7.50, and roofing was paid by Shagun Meru Nayak. Now Jakdi does the worship and Shagun Meru Nayak offered the Naivedya and the lights, lighting the evening lamps. Bhai Krish Sagar was originally a devotee of Akkalkot Maharaj. He had come to Shirdi at the installation of the Padukas in the Shaka 1834, and on his way to Akkalkot, he wanted to go to Akkalkot after taking the darshan of Baba. He asked Baba's permission for this. Baba said, "Oh, what is there in Akkalkot? Why do you go there? The incumbent Maharaj of that place is here, myself." Hearing this, Baba did not go to Akkalkot. He came to Shirdi on and off, and after the installation of the Padukas, Mr. B.V.D.A. concluded that Hemadpant did not know these details. Had he known them, he would have not failed to depict them in the Sai Satcharitra. Wrestling bout with more than Thamboli and change in life. To return to other stories of Baba, there was a wrestler in Shirdi by name more than Thamboli. Baba and he did not agree on some items, and both had a fight. In this, Baba was defeated. Henceforth, Baba changed his dress and mode of living. He donned kafni, wore a langot, and covered his head with a piece of cloth. He took a piece of sackcloth on his head, sackcloth for his bed, and was content with wearing torn and worn out rags. He always said that poverty is better than kingship, far better than lordship. The Lord is always brother, that is the befriender of the poor. Gangagir was also very fond of wrestling. While he was once wrestling, a similar feeling of dispassion came to him, and at a proper time he heard that the voice of an adept, saying that he should wear out his body, playing with God. So he too gave up samsara and turned towards God realization. He established a mutt on the banks of river Putambe and lived there with his disciples. Sai Baba did not pass and speak with the people. He only gave answers when he was questioned. By day, he always sat under the neem tree, sometimes on the shade of the branch of the babul tree, near the stream of the outskirts of the village. In the afternoon, he used to walk at random and go to places at Nimagaon. There he frequented the house of Balasaheb Dangle. Baba loved Mr. Balasaheb. His younger brother named Nanasaheb had no son. Though he married a second wife, Balasaheb sent Nanasaheb for taking the darshan of Sai Baba, and after some time, with his grace, Nanasaheb got a son. From that time onwards, people began to come in numbers to see Sai Baba, and his fame began to spread and reach Hemadnagar. From there, Nanasaheb Chandorkar and Keshav Chidambar and many others began to come to Shirdi. Baba was surrounded by his devotees during day and slept at night in an old dilapidated masjid. Baba's paraphernalia all at that time consisted of chilim, tobacco, a tumbril, which is a tin pot, long following kafni, a piece of cloth around his head, and the satka, which is a short stick, which he always kept within. The piece of white cloth on his head was twisted like a matted hair and flowed down from left ear on the back. This was not washed for weeks. He wore no shoes nor sandals. A piece of sackcloth was his seat for most of the day. He wore a kapin, which is a waistcloth band, and for warding off cold, he always sat in front of the duni, that is a sacred fire, facing south with his left hand resting on the wooden railing. In that duni, he offered an oblation, egoism, desires, and all thoughts, and uttered Allah Malik, God is the sole owner. The masjid in which he was only 2 rooms dimension, where all devotees came and saw him. After 1912, there was a change. The old masjid was repaired and a payment was constructed. Before Baba came to live in the masjid, he lived for a long time in the place called Takia, where with gungur, small wells on his legs, Baba danced beautifully and sang with tender love. Turning water into oil. Sai Baba was very fond of lights. He used to borrow oil from shopkeepers and kept lamps burning the whole night in the masjid and temple. This went on for some time. The baniyas who supplied oil gratis once met together and decided not to give him oil. When as usual Baba went out for oil, they all gave a distinct no, unperturbed. Baba returned to the masjid and kept the dry wicks in the lamp. The baniyas were watching him with curiosity. Baba took the tumbril, which contained very few little drops of oil, put water in it, drank it, and forced it to fall into the container. After consecrating the tin pot in this way, he again took water in the tumbril and filled all the lamps with and lighted them. To all surprise and dismay of watching baniyas, the lamps began to burn and kept burning the whole night. The baniyas repented and apologized. Baba forgave them and asked them to be more truthful in future. The pseudo Guru Jawahar Ali. 5 years after the wrestling about mentioned above, one fakir from Hemadnagar named Jawahar Ali came to Rahata, which is 2 miles south of Shirdi, with his disciples and stayed there in Bakka, which is a spacious room near Veerabhadra temple. The fakir was learned, could repeat the whole Quran and has a sweet tongue. Many religious and devout people of the village came to him and began to respect him. With the help of people, he started to build an Eidgah, a wall before which Mohammedan pray on Eidgah day, near the Veerabhadra temple. There was some quarrel about this affair, on account of which Jawahar Ali had to leave. Then he came to Shirdi and lived there in the masjid with Baba. People were captured by his sweet talk and he began to call Baba his disciple. Baba did not object and consented to be his chela. Then both Guru and chela decided to return to Rahata and live there. The Guru never knew the disciple's worth, but the disciple knew the defects of the Guru, still he never disrespected him. Observing carefully his duties, he even served the master in various ways. They used to come to Shirdi on and off, but the mainstay was in Rahata. The loving devotee of Baba in Shirdi did not like this, that Baba should stay away from them in Rahata. So they went in a deputation to bring Baba back to Shirdi. When they met Baba near the Eidgah and told the purpose of which they came, Baba said to them that the fakir was an ill-tempered fellow, he should not leave him, and that they should better return to Shirdi without him, before the fakir returned. While they were thus talking, the fakir turned up and was very angry with them for trying to take away his disciple. There was some discussion and altercation, and it was finally decided that the Guru and Chela should return to Shirdi, and so they returned to Shirdi and lived in Shirdi. But after a few days, the Guru was tested and by Devidas, and he was found wanting. 12 years before Baba arrived in Shirdi with the marriage party, Devidas, aged 10 or 11, came to Shirdi and lived in the Maruti temple. Devidas had fine features and brilliant eyes. He was dispassion incarnate and a Jnani. Many people named Tatya Kotek, Kashinath and others regarded him as his Guru. They brought Jawahar Ali in his presence, and in the discussion that followed, Jawahar was worsted and fled from Shirdi. He went and stayed in Bijapur and returned after many years to Shirdi and prostrated himself before Sai Baba. The delusion that he was the Guru and Sai Baba was his chela was cleared away, and as he repented, Sai Baba treated him with respect. In this case, Sai Baba showed him the actual conduct, how one should get rid of egoism and do the duties of a disciple to attain the highest end, that is self-realization. This story is told here according to the version given by Mahalsapati. In the next chapter, we'll describe Ramanavami festival, the masjid, its former conditions and later improvements, etc. Bo to Sri Sai, peace be to all.